What important details are missing from the Mueller report? And how are the Hillary Clinton email scandal and the Mueller investigation connected? This is American Thought Leaders, and I'm Jekielek. Today we sit down with Tom Fitton, president of Judicial Watch, who uses FOIA, or Freedom of Information Act, requests, as well as litigation, to expose government corruption. We discuss, among other things, how President Trump's granting of declassification powers to Attorney General William Barr is a, quote, historic move, but one that doesn't mean necessarily that a trove of new public information is forthcoming. Tom Fitton, wonderful to have you back on American Thought Leaders.
It's good to be with you.
So let's jump right into it. The Attorney General Barr has been given, broad declassification powers by the president. Why is this needed? What's your take on this?
Well, it's an historic move by the president that could lead to significant accountability both for the American people, and it could accelerate the internal Justice Department investigations of the targeting, the illicit targeting of candidate Trump and other Americans, and obviously even the President of the United States. It's pretty clear that Attorney General Barr got into office, saw there was something up, began investigating, and ran into internal roadblocks within the administration from other agencies in getting access to the information that could explain the Spygate targeting. So he sought this approval, I would suggest, from President Trump to overcome the roadblocks he's getting from the deep state and some of even his colleagues in the cabinet in terms of getting these documents out about the targeting of President Trump. When you think about the spy operation against President Trump's campaign advisor at the time, George Papadopoulos, that had Stephen Halper and some other unnamed government operator go. You had the FBI involved. You had the Justice Department involved. Halper was paid with Pentagon money, so he was a contractor for the Pentagon. And obviously any overseas operation would need the approval of the State Department. So you had at least 4 agencies, I would suggest, involved, maybe 5 if the CIA was involved, in targeting this one man working associated with the Trump team for one spy operation. So if you're trying to get a feel for what went on, the Attorney General has to get all this information from all these different agencies, and I'm sure he's been running into roadblocks. Hence the historic declassification order.
So now the Attorney General has these powers. Why should we be expecting something soon? Why haven't we seen anything yet?
We'll see. We'll be asking. We're asking for documents that would be subject to declassification. So hopefully, we'll get a signal that he's taking a new tack here. Just because they're declassified doesn't mean the American people will see them, because they could be subject to secrecy under criminal investigation exemptions.
Oh, okay.
Where, look, this is the middle investigation. It's related to that. You can't see them. We hope that won't be the case, but it could lead to significant transparency, or it could lead to just more of the same.
Do you feel there's any danger of ongoing intelligence activities being endangered, as some are saying, by this declassification?
No. Look, I've been doing this for 20 years.
Okay.
And in my experience, classification fights on politically sensitive matters like this have nothing to do with national security or protecting sources, methods, or lives. It's about protecting the corruption of the agencies who don't want you to see what they were really up to, and they use the classification excuse as a way to protect themselves from accountability and having to explain their misconduct.
So, in Judicial Watch yourself, you've been encountering some, roadblocks or slowdowns with your Freedom of Information Act requests with the existing agencies. Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe how that's connected with declassification?
Well, in the State Department, we asked for the unmasking request of Obama official Samantha Power, the UN ambassador who allegedly made hundreds of requests that were unusual, where American citizens' identities were disclosed to her, arguably improperly, Americans who were caught up in this intelligence gathering overseas. And the response back from the State Department, we can't even tell you one way or another whether such requests were made, because to do so would harm national security. So they can't even confirm or deny, and that's all because of the classified nature of any such request. They can't even confirm it one way or another. If there's a declassification move, maybe we can start getting answers there. On the FISA warrants, only portions of the applications used to target President Trump were released. There are other portions that those who have seen them have said would be as scandalous as was already out there. Well, that's classified. We can't get it, and the court is going to let us get it until it's declassified. We've asked for the documents again with the hopes that they'll now be declassified. We'll see what happens. But the Attorney General needs to understand this is more than just prosecutions or administrative review. I'm not sure what he's doing one way or another. The American people need to be let in on the deep state secrets.
So last time we talked, I think you said that that this is the biggest scandal in American history, bar none. And so let's talk about the Steele dossier for a second. You've said that Christopher Steele is actually a cutout. I remember you saying that. Who is he a cutout for? What is...
Well, I don't remember that specifically, but It sounds right. Christopher Steele was working for the DNC. He was working for the Democratic National Committee, the Clinton campaign, and as Judicial Watch disclosed, he was also being paid by the FBI in 2016 during the campaign, evidently for information on then-candidate Trump. So it was a joint operation. Now, Steele was also using Russia intel sources by their own admission to provide to the FBI and DOJ, who used that as a pretext to target Trump. So who was Steele working for? Was he still working for the British intelligence? He was a former spy? Was he really retired? And was he a cutout for the Russians who used him as a vehicle to try to disrupt our elections? It's just amazing to me that Robert Mueller is charged with investigating Russia attempts to influence our elections, and he ignores that one of the presidential campaigns was directly working with Russia intel to target President Trump. And in fact, he used that information, Mueller did, to investigate others targeted as a result of the dossier and the other garbage information that was being used to justify charges against Flynn and continued harassment of President Trump.
You've actually mentioned also that there's a tight connection between this whole scandal and the Clinton email scandal. And that's not necessarily obvious to folks. People say, hey, why are you still talking about those Clinton emails?
Well, it's pretty clear the targeting of Trump was designed to protect Hillary Clinton from the consequences of her email misconduct. And it wasn't just Hillary Clinton who had consequences. It would have been the Obama administration, the Obama White House, the State Department, the FBI, the DOJ, who were involved in that cover-up. Judicial Watch just uncovered through discovery in our big Clinton email case, discovery, we're gathering evidence.
Right.
The top FBI official managing her case admitted they found Clinton emails in the Obama White House Executive Office of the President. We just found new documents they had to disclose to us involuntarily. Again, this is court-ordered discovery, where the Obama White House was guiding the FOIA responses of the State Department, which lied about the existence of the Clinton emails. So you had Clinton emails hiding out over at the Obama White House that the FBI had to go and try to recover. And we also have the Obama White House involved in the cover-up directly of the Clinton email scandal. So you have all of that potential corruption and criminality eventually potentially coming to the fore in the middle of the presidential campaign. What better way than to keep the focus off of that? Not only in 2016, but in 2017, once you had a new Justice Department, then create and manufacture this false, defamatory, and knowingly false allegation that Trump colluded with Russia. So the same Justice Department that was bending over backwards to target, to protect Hillary Clinton, was going full bore, the rules and the rule of law be danged, against Trump and his team. Unbelievable. No corruption scandal like it in American history, bar none.
So the Mueller report, were there any stark omissions that you noticed from the research work that you've done in the Mueller report?
Hillary Clinton's collusion with the Russians to target President Trump. I don't know how you could have an investigation into that issue without without that being discussed. The dossier, to the degree the dossier is mentioned directly I think it's mentioned twice, the unverified dossier. So that is, the kind of the big dog that didn't bark. But
bizarre, right? I mean, this was a central thing that allowed for the investigation in the first place.
Mueller doesn't talk about the circumstances of his appointment. He doesn't talk about Comey stealing the FBI records of President Trump and then leaking them in order to get him appointed. Don't you think that would be part of the obstruction investigation? Mueller has been compromised. That whole special counsel operation, if you're talking about investigating the investigators, I'm sure the Attorney General's probably hesitant to do this, but he needs to figure out how that Mueller operation got so off kilter. We kind of know because Judicial Watch just exposed that all those Democrats that were hired by Mueller, his number two, Andrew Weissman, was involved in the hiring process. And we've confirmed he's an anti-Trumper, supportive of that Sally Yates that I talked about,
right,
the Obama holdover, a Hillary Clinton activist. He went to Hillary Clinton's election night party in New York. Top-level DOJ official going to a political campaign election night party. Why was he anywhere near this investigation? He was doing the hirings. You want to know where all those angry Democrats came in? That's how they came in.
So you feel Barr and the Justice Department and the people he's appointed are investigating these things that you're describing now?
I would if I were he, but this is, we don't rely on the Attorney General to do it. We hope he does. We're hopeful he does. We hope to be pleasantly surprised. But Judicial Watch has 50 lawsuits, both into the Mueller investigation and the deep state targeting of President Trump. We're not going to rely on the Justice Department to do the right thing. We hope they do, but we're going to take independent action. In our experience, the Justice Department has obstructed our efforts, both on Hillary Clinton and the deep state scandals. The FBI has obstructed our efforts, State Department, and so we just got to keep on pushing for accountability because, Barr's going to have his own difficulties, and so we got to keep the pressure on.
So prior to 2016, and I'm not even sure we know exactly how, but there were a bunch of private contractors that had access to some of this raw intel that was being gathered, and Admiral Rogers, ostensibly in 2016, cut that off. So the question that's been on a lot of people's minds is, how much was the creation of the Steele dossier not an attempt or an attempt to actually cover up or hide what was happening prior to this time?
Well, I think one way to think about it is tying it to the unmasking requests, the unusual numbers of unmasking requests that allegedly took place at the end during the presidential campaign season. Right. And the issue with FBI contractors before then, those were folks who were involved in these special programs that presumably were accessing intelligence about Americans gathered, secretly. And so that was being done improperly, according to reports. Right. Then you have senior level Obama officials requesting unmaskings directly of Americans caught up in intelligence gathering. So Rogers is correcting the contractors, but the bosses are doing something inappropriate. So what do you make of all these, what was described as endless investigations? Mueller report, no collusion, the Attorney General found no obstruction, but hey, there's a whole bunch of investigations that still need to be done. What do you make of it? It's about harassing the president, trying to remove him from office, trying to jail people around him. All bets are off in terms of the rule of law. You had the Democrats involved in the illicit targeting. They were partnering with the FBI and DOJ to do this against then candidate Trump. Remember, Barack Obama had an unusual role in the presidential election campaign to replace him. You'd have to go back 100 years to see an incumbent president participate in an election campaign in the way Barack Obama did on behalf of Hillary Clinton. He was not a disinterested party. He was much a political operative, guiding the spying. The White House wanted to know everything, the text message famously says.
Right.
Has Hillary Clinton's lawyers and the DNC's lawyers. And remember, before, just the day or two before, James Comey went and ambushed a then candidate or President-elect Trump with that dossier. They had a meeting about it with Barack Obama in the Oval Office. Comey did. Joe Biden was there. Susan Rice was there. Other top people were there. Obama is intimately involved in this. You must presume he's intimately involved if he's doing his job with this unprecedented spying on Trump world.
Tom, we're going to finish up fairly shortly. I wanted to find out, you have a number of these Freedom of Information Act lawsuits going on. You mentioned one of them. What else is on the table? Is there any news in any of these?
Well, we're always having to file new Freedom of Information Act lawsuits. The corruption continues and the cover-up continues in these agencies. And I appreciate the President's declassification order. We should recognize that's the tip of the iceberg, because there are other secrecy moves, illicit in my view, by the agencies that are still going to be used to cover all of this up. For instance, the FBI, and the President retweeted my concerns about this recently, the FBI is refusing to search their text messages under FOIA of people like Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, and Lisa Page. So you've got the FBI in cover-up mode for the very people who corrupted the top levels of the FBI, both in the Clinton email and Russia investigations. Christopher Wray he may not be the problem in terms of FBI corruption, but he certainly isn't the solution. He needs to step up.
So what is the rationale behind not, clearly I think by any standard
They think text messages are Post-it notes, the equivalent of Post-it notes, and shouldn't have to be searched. The Peter Strzok, Lisa Page text messages show that's obviously a lie, and they just don't want to search the records because they know what's in there, and we know what's in there about the Clinton email scandal and the targeting of Trump.
Are they afraid the agency will collapse as a result of it? Isn't this just a matter of cleaning house?
I think Wray sees this whole issue as an existential threat to the agency, and that's why he refuses to call spying, and is a stonewaller. He's clearly not cooperating with the Attorney General. Why would he be seeking classification authority if Wray were helping him appropriately?
So what do you think the next best steps are for President Trump and for the Attorney General?
Broaden the transparency effort. The Attorney General should be looking to release this material publicly, as opposed to just for internal and criminal review. The American people want to know what went on as soon as possible, and they've been unlawfully delayed from learning the truth about what their corrupt government's been up to.
Tom Fitton, thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.